Do you live in a foreign country like I do and find that despite all your efforts to assimilate, to integrate, you still feel like an outsider? Or you told you're not one of us? Have you experienced that? Well, something happened yesterday that kind of made me want to talk about this topic today. So sit tight. I went to Cologne yesterday. Cologne is the area in Panama where you find most Afro-Panamanians and the history, the canal, they stayed, they built families, businesses. And then so you have like a culture that is vibrant and rich. And there's a lot of pride in Cologne as there is in anywhere in Panama. And since we are celebrating patriotic, Mes de la Patria, Patriotic Month, then it was an opportunity for me to go experience that yesterday. All right. The incident I'm going to tell you about, it's nothing major, but it kind of got me thinking. And I had another topic I was going to talk about today, but I decided maybe there is room for this kind of chat. So, if you're new here, my name is Maggie. I'm a retired nurse practitioner, and I have been here in Panama almost 3 years. And I absolutely adore Panama. And I am very grateful to have been given the opportunity to live in this peaceful, beautiful, kind, cheerful country. And I am blessed, like a lot of my sisters and brothers who are here. I am also the creator of SWRA, Single Women Retiring Abroad, a group of sassy older ladies like myself who have decided to make Panama their home where we want to die, right? But we want to also take this opportunity to reinvent ourselves, create community, sisterhood, and give back. So if any of this is of interest to you, I encourage you to click like, subscribe to the channel, and click that little bell so you are notified whenever I go live or whenever I post a new video. Anyway, let's get into it. I went to Cologne yesterday. It was day 5, November 5th. It was Cologne Day, which is part of the Patriotic Month. And if you know me, I want to experience everything that Panama has to offer. And it's not like somebody is telling me to do it. This is the way I am. I'm naturally curious and I want to know everything about Panama. Yes. So I went to Cologne. I had participated in all the two parades here in the city and took the bus. And, I saw the country by bus 2 years ago. It was amazing. So I got there and it was like a totally new experience. The place was packed, but I was carrying my folding chair, my big umbrella, to shield me from the sun and the rain. And also I had a bag and my crossbody. So your sis was just like, but I could not find a place to put my chair to sit down and enjoy the parade like I did in the city because everybody was there. And the difference also is that when I got there, it's like all the spots along the route, the via, were taken by people who had pitched their tents and they had put the sticks in the ground and then they had taped around. So if you did not belong to the family of the person who did that, you're not allowed to step in. But all I wanted, I'm like, okay, I can find a place to sit. I can just find a spot just so that with my phone I can catch some, take some shots so I can show my subscribers and the ladies who are here still here in the city. So I found a spot that there were no tape around and there were people there and there was a big spot. So I stood there and I was looking and, taking pictures. And this lady kept looking, but she didn't say anything. I didn't say anything, right? Because there was no sign that said, do not enter. So after a while, I'm like, oh, I guess it's okay. I can open my chair and sit down. So I started to open my chair, and the lady came, no, 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 no. we are waiting for other people to come. You can't do that. I'm like, oh, está bien, lo siento, I'm sorry. All right, listen, I'm a guest. And I'm not gonna force my way saying, well, yeah, there's no. No, I said, okay, that's fine. So I was still sitting there, right? And then after a while, there was another lady who was closer to the road. No, after a while, the same lady said she took pity on me and said, "Go ahead and open your job." Like, oh, está bien. Because I was thinking, I need to get back to the city in time to teach my Spanish class. And I was like, oh, I don't think I can because I didn't get there till like 11:30. So I'm thinking 2 hours max, I'm gonna be there. So I said, está bien, I'm gonna leave. She said, oh, you're gonna go? I'm like, yeah. She said, okay. And then maybe 10, 15 minutes later, another lady is talking to her. And then this lady's giving me the eye and just saying, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, what's going on? Because they're both looking at me. And the first lady was like, looking at me like that, like she's sorry and she's embarrassed. And I'm like, okay, I'm thinking that lady is probably telling her, I need to go and I can't stay in their spot. But if there is one thing I know how to do is I can read body language, right? I mean, she was not so close to me, so I couldn't hear what she's saying, but I could see her look and her body language was like, what's she doing here? She needs to leave. And then there were some teenagers sitting there, and I'm like, ella quiere que me vaya. I'm like, does she want me to leave? Because I can leave. And the little kids were embarrassed too. They were looking like left and right, and the lady was putting her head down, and then that lady was still talking. So I said, okay, I think she doesn't want me here. So I just kind of picked up my little thing on my shoulder, and I walked away. And then as I walked away, I mean, I was sad for a small moment because I got the feeling in Cologne, because so many people are related, that if you were to be a foreigner, you would have a hard time integrating because they're so together. And I said, if I were a sister and I saw another sister, an older sister, standing there and there was room, I would have said, sit down, senora. I would have said that, but no. And I said, I think it's sad that somebody would treat a sister like that. But then again, I had to talk to myself, well, Maggie, what did you expect? You're not from here. Even though most of the people I saw were brown skin and they were beautiful, I saw the cutest braids. I tried to take some pictures in the back of the head. So I don't ever take pictures of somebody's face without permission. And so I think even though we might look alike, but I'm still a foreigner. And I think I would still have a hard time integrating. I would. I mean, I don't think they would run me out of town, but there is always that little separation that says, you're not one of us. You heard that. All skin folk are not kinfolk. I think I'm saying it right. So I was like, okay, okay. And in my mind, I always acknowledge, right? I'm not gonna be sad, angry, have opinions. I'm like, oh, okay. So I acknowledged it. And that got me thinking about other experiences I've had. For example, when my family and we moved to Florida in 1988 from New York, OMG, that was like I had just stepped into the twilight zone because it was so different from what I had known in New York. And we moved because of the snow, and we moved for cheaper housing, and we got jobs, even though the salaries were way less, but everything else, the cost was low. So we're like, yeah, and there's no snow. Okay, we can live with it. What we did not explore was the education system and everything else, the relationship between races and all that. We did not do our homework. Everywhere we went, people would say, where are you folks from? Why'd you come to Florida? Why'd you move to Florida? I mean, we were exhausted by answering the question. We wanted somewhere warm. We want to have a quieter place to raise our kids. It was like almost we were running from New York at the time because housing was super expensive. And then, you hear all the bad things in the schools, but we didn't know what else we were getting ourselves into. So I think there is some similarity between what's happening now. A lot of people running from the US or wherever, coming over here. Anyway, Expat 101. So I remember we used to read in Florida bumper stickers that would say, "Welcome to Florida, now go home." Or something like, "Teach a Yankee how to drive." And I used to say, "Oh my God, where have I landed? What have I done?" Yeah, going to a restaurant asking for a bagel. They're like, "Hey, what?" We got biscuits. So we had to rewire our brain. We survived. We raised all our kids there, but it wasn't without challenges, right? So that's that. And I remember talking to this lady. We women in that group that I remember there was another nurse who moved from Minnesota with her family, and another, we were all commiserating how different the culture was, the sense that you didn't belong. They really didn't want you here. They want to grill you about where you came from. Why did you come here? And isn't that what's happening now? If you say you're from somewhere else, then go back to wherever you came from. Imagine people whose great grandfathers came over here under Mayflower, looking for freedom and opportunities, now telling people the same thing. Anyway, we're not going to get into that. But once you make up your mind to assimilate, you survive. Well, we're just talking about being aware of the reality. In another episode, another thing that happened to me, I remember being in Africa. How many of us, our people, go to Africa thinking that, we're all Black? They're going to roll the red carpet and say, "Come on, brother." And some do. And this is the thing, the point of this video is for you to understand that this is not gloom and doom. This is being aware of the reality. That doesn't mean you're going to stick your head in the sand or you're going to become angry. No, no, no. Right? Because let me tell you, on Thursdays, my videos are about, I call it wisdom living. This is for the people who want to think beyond the obvious, have a healthy discussion about the realities of life in a foreign country as an expat. So I always say, don't come here with stars in your eyes thinking that this place is utopia. No place is utopia, right? So in Africa, a lot of people go there and they just get so hurt that an African would say, "But you're not African." And you're like, "But I'm Black like you." No, it goes beyond that. Color doesn't define culture. You don't understand their traditions. I remember being in South Africa, and then the different tribes would come when I was in the Peace Corps and teach us about their tradition, their ceremonies, and how they do things. Weddings, the courtship, and death, and it was like. And I'm sitting there like, I love to hear about other cultures respectfully. So I was in Ghana, Africa in 2021, I believe. And the day before I was to fly out to Rwanda, I said, "Okay, I'm going to that market." I think it's called Makalo or Mahalo. Anyway, sorry, I should have looked it up. And everybody tells you need to go there, especially it's known for having fabric that people get measured and they can have outfits made. It's just one of the beauties of going to Ghana and get yourself measured and come out, come home with like a suitcase full of beautiful, colorful outfits from the kente cloth, right? So I went to that market, and it was like a feast for the eye. I was overwhelmed with the vastness and the noise and the energy. Oh, I thought I was in heaven. And I remember being in the food section, of course. I'll go to the food section first, right? Because they had shoes and fabric trinkets and jewelry and clothing and all that different section. I remember they had these little corridor things. You had to go from one area to another. It was amazing. Okay. So I'm standing there and I'm trying to take it all in. And of course, after a while, I put up my phone and started taking some shots. At the corner of my eye, I see this woman just making some movement. She's mad as hell. And I'm like, first, I don't speak your language. I'm not engaged in conversation. I didn't say how much anything was. I wasn't buying anything, but she was just having a fit. And she kept pointing to me and then making sign like the camera. And I'm like, she is saying in her Twi language that she doesn't want me to take pictures. And I was not taking pictures of her, as I said. I always ask for permission. But she was mad as hell. So finally, I'm like, why is she upset that I'm taking pictures? I'm a foreigner. But that's the thing, Africans, if they see you, with looking like them, they assume you're one of them until you open your mouth. The same thing happens here in Panama sometimes. But finally, I put my phone away and I decided to move away from her and go somewhere else so I can continue taking some pictures. But what I started thinking is like, why is she upset that I'm taking pictures? Obviously, if I'm taking pictures, it's because I love the place. I love what I see. And I know if it was somebody else, a different color, a different shade who was taking her picture, she probably would, because I see them in the news every night. When foreigners came who don't look like me, and they're just posing, they're dancing, they're chatting. But of course, in Africa, everybody, if you've been to Africa, you know how they worship the light-skinned people. In the Peace Corps, when I was preparing to go to the Peace Corps, I would be watching some videos. And the African American volunteers who had gone before me had recorded some stories of them getting to the village. That means in the deep of the country. And then saying, hello, I'm so and so, I'm the volunteer. They're like, where's the volunteer? And they're looking behind them to look for the volunteer because in their mind, a volunteer cannot look like us. They would tell her, oh, you're African, go away. Where's the volunteer? So that volunteer that they're looking for in their mind could really help them, could really teach them. Yes, yes. And I myself experienced it in the Peace Corps where my assignment and where they put me was more challenging. Let's leave it at that. So that mindset that you're not good enough is one thing. And that's not really what I'm talking about right now. Here I'm saying, like what some people have experienced anywhere as a foreigner, that you're never going to be seen as one of them. So even in Africa, I can go to Africa. Yes, you hear all some of them saying, yeah, come home, you were stolen. Yes, we know. We know. But you're talking about hundreds of years of us being apart. I don't know your culture. I don't know your story. So they look at us, a lot of them, to scam you because they see you with money, they assume. And that's what they say in Africa. They all think we all have money when a lot of us are struggling. So when you try not to give in to, you're the giver, then there is resentment that comes up. Anyway, so that happens in Africa. And it's not to the point of what I'm saying, there is xenophobia in some areas, right? Because, in places like Nigeria, a lot of them over there, I was reading before that they did not Nigeria, South Africa did not like people from Nigeria. And if you go to France, the French people are real good at telling you, but vous n'êtes pas français, you're not French, you're not French, you're not from here. So, what am I trying to teach you with this conversation? If you are somebody who is living in a foreign country, I want you to be objective. After you've looked at all the ooh and ah, and oh my God, the cost of living, the ease of getting a visa, the weather, all things that we experience here in Panama. Those of you who are in Asia, and how wonderful, I listened to Kate, she's really telling people about Indonesia now, but she's been there 40 some years. And I'm wondering, do they see her as a local? I don't think so. I think she's still a foreigner. This is what we want to talk about here. Come here with your eyes open. Understand that migration was something that was really welcome in a lot of places all over the world. The wind has shifted. The wind has shifted. And I think it'll shift back again. But isn't that how the world works? It's just what goes around comes around, right? It's like save your bell bottom and your weight shoes, they'll come back in style. Somebody said. That's the way the world works. So now we are under a wind of antagonism and intolerance for people come from another place. And it's like the wind blows and everybody runs with it, right? Whereas I remember Canada saying, oh, if you have a skill, come, 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 come. And the next thing you know, oh, no, we don't want you to come. So what you need to do in expat circles, and of course, this is not a conversation about whether I'm an expat or an immigrant. Someone said, not me, someone said, an expat is someone that goes to a different country. Once you decide to stay, you become an immigrant. So I am an immigrant. But I'm a very aware immigrant. I'm a very respectful immigrant. I am naturally curious. I want to learn about the new place where I've decided to stay. And for multiple reasons, I looked everywhere, looked back and forth, and so far, Panama still comes up to the top for my needs. And every time I'm on these in these videos, I'm always saying how grateful I am for the opportunity. I don't know how long it's gonna last. I hope it lasts until I die, but I don't have any kind of power to enact change or policy. So all we can do is be aware. So how do you really embrace the concept that when you are in a foreign land, you're no longer a visitor, but you are a foreigner. And a foreigner means somebody who is not used to their way of life. So your job, should you choose to accept it, is to respectfully learn about your new home. And that's where the homework comes in, your assessment, and find out about their culture, their politics, the food, the weather, and culture itself. And this is something I'm going to start soon, just give you little nuggets about what Panamanian culture is all about. We all joke about the mañana mindset, but it's not just in Panama. The mañana is a lot of places, especially in Latin America and Africa, Caribbean. You know I'm right. Respectfully learn about the culture. And then come here with the expectation that this is a very peaceful place. Panama is unique in the sense that the people are so welcoming. Not every place is like that. So you have to know what has been happening. When you enter a restaurant, how do you feel? People go to Boquete, they tell me they walk into a coffee place and it's like everybody looks and it's like you feel that sense of oppression that you're not wanted. Me, I would just get up and walk away. So you may be restricted based on how you feel when you visit certain venues. In Florida, my home, a few years ago, I decided I didn't feel safe anymore walking around my neighborhood. So you get your sixth sense out, and once you feel any kind of uneasy wind blowing, you adjust, right? But we don't have that here, thank goodness. So you need to learn, to be aware. And then another way to appreciate the culture is to learn the language. And I'm not telling you this because I teach Spanish, but I know how beneficial it is to me. When that lady was talking to me, I was able to talk to her. I don't have, if somebody's trying to be unkind to you, then you have to call Google Translate to find out what they're saying about you. I think that's a little sad. So learn the language. Don't stay in the bubble, in the expat bubble. You play pickleball and you go to lunch and you do this with the friend circle. How are you going to assimilate? You're definitely seen as a foreigner. But when I go into the middle of the country and I stay at a hospedaje, I forgot what they call them in English, but where you get a little room and you're talking to the local, you're eating the local food, you go visit a farm, a finca, that gives you an edge. And I think then it makes you a bit more accepted versus somebody coming into the city and going into a restaurant. The first words out of their mouth is, do you have the menu in English? Well, they may or they may not. Should be an expectation. Don't be entitled. And I think I would be one of those people if I were in a restaurant and I could see an entitled stranger berate a worker. I think I would step in. I know it's none of my business. I know that. But sometimes for the cause, sometimes I have to get involved. All right. So be aware, right? And then show respect. Learn the culture. When I teach Spanish, I'm telling the ladies the importance of greeting, the importance of addressing somebody as sir, señora, señor. The importance of coming in and out of an elevator saying, hola, buenos días, hasta luego, ciao. That's the culture. Not calling anybody with your fingers, not dressing any kind of way in the streets because, oh, well, these are my clothes. I can do whatever I want. Do not bring that sense of entitlement here. Learn the laws of the land. If you're an anti-mask, anti-vax, you're not going to be happy here in Panama because to get insurance, a lot of them, they want you to be COVID vaccinated. What are you going to do with that? And I know there are some people who say, well, I did some research, it's not for me. Bravo. This is what you need to do. Do your research and stay where you're going to be the most comfortable. The other thing also you do when you're trying to assimilate is to keep your mouth shut. Don't go on your social media and berate the country that is feeding you, that has accepted you. It's a no-no. And on those Facebook pages, it's not just expats that reads the comment and comment themselves. I have seen comments from locals who are livid about something that happens in an expert circle that seeks to demean or make decisions for them. Oh my God, this is their country, their city. Who are you to demand anything? You choose to change the landscape, the way these people live their lives. Who called you in? Who made you mayor? Stop it. Stop it. And this is the danger we have when we have so many of us coming here. Yes, those of us who've been here, we're like, let's lay it low. I remember one day I made a comment in our group, and there was an incident, and I'm like, this is the time for us this is not for you to go and be loud and just announce to the world your American privilege. It's like lay low. And all the sisters were like, what do you mean lay low? What does that mean? And I'm like, just be quiet. We don't need to have an opinion about the protests, about the government, about the president. This is not your place. You are not one of them. Nunca, never are you going to be one of them. And I think even if you were to become a citizen, maybe you invested $1 million, I'm pretty sure you could get yourself a citizenship by investment. And I understand that the president also has to sign off on you becoming a citizen after you study at pass the test, the language, the history, and all that, but still, you're not one of them. There's something the Panamanians call raíces. Raíces means your roots. You could say here 15, 20 years. Your roots are still not Panamanian. So do like I do. Keep a low profile. I'm in the streets almost every day. I ride the bus. I listen to the old people discussing politics, the way they talk about certain groups. So I'm on the lookout to hear if they talk about us that way. And if they do, I know sometimes it's easy to paint us all with the same brush, but we're not all the same. There are certain groups in certain parts of the country that think a certain way. And in the community of Panamanian, there are divergences of opinion, especially in politics. Yes, you'd be surprised. But it's not for me to try to discuss, to have an opinion or criticize. No, I want to keep a low profile. I go to the farmer's market. I talk to the local. I get in the Uber. I ask what's going on. I watch the television every single day. I know what's happening in the news. All that makes me is an informed expat, immigrant, foreigner. So please don't come here thinking that, well, I come, I bring money, I spend money, therefore I deserve to be treated like a local. Mm-mm. There is no way you're going to be a Panamanian. That sense of pride and belonging that I see in the faces of these kids in the parades. And when you have any kind of event and they're like, somos orgullosos de ser panameños, you can't ever do this to your chest, sis. So don't get it twisted. Just because you are allowed to be here doesn't mean you are a local. You're a foreigner. Therefore, beware. Watch what you say. Watch where you go. Watch how you move around. It's important. And when you do that, you make it easier for the rest of us, for them to continue to respect foreigners, to see us as those people who come to enjoy, to participate, but knowing the boundaries. There are boundaries and we should not cross them. But anyway, that's what I wanted to say. And I forgot to ask you again to like, share, subscribe. I think I did. And hit that bell because this was Wisdom Living. Remember what I said. On Thursdays, I want to make you think. I want to go beyond. Oh, this is the cost of living. Oh, this is the rainy season. We've done this ad nauseum. You know how many people are doing that? How many, what do we call ourselves again? Yeah. Yeah, well, we do videos, right? Educators or whatever you want to call us, a lot of us are doing the same thing. And I thought we needed a bit of a change, something different. And because I'm a thinker, I am going to talk about topics that will make you think a little bit, kind of elevate your mind above the regular, the day-to-day, today. All righty. So I will see you on, let's see, on Saturday we do the live. And then on Monday we do the Panama how-tos. And then on Thursday, it's all about thinking beyond the obvious. All right. I wish you a good afternoon, a good day, whatever time you happen to be seeing this video. God loves you. I love you. Au revoir. À la prochaine. Bye bye.